Welcome to The Quick Fix, a series that gives you wellness tips that are founded in research and that are practical and easy to apply in your life right now. These are short episodes that focus on all aspects of wellness: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, professional, and personal. The goal is to help you and I to live lives that are healthy and soaked with meaning and purpose. So let's get going. Hello, welcome to this episode on not letting fear spoil our present moments. Each time we plan or start to make a significant change in our life, there are 4 obstacles that we can come up against. These obstacles, which are essentially in our minds, can sabotage the change process or can severely limit it and even ruin the journey as we start it. And these 4 obstacles are summed up in the acronym FEAR, F-E-A-R. It's great to have you in this conversation this evening. Today we are going to understand what these 4 obstacles are and look at ways to overcome them. And I really like this acronym because these are 4 areas that I have struggled and continue to struggle so much in my life. And so therefore, if you're struggling with any of these 4 blocks right now in some area of your life, my intent is that you'll find the inspiration and energy to unblock them and move ahead. Now, before we continue our conversation, please do subscribe or follow this channel. There are lots of interesting stuff on it, and do share the episodes with your friends and colleagues. Well, let's get going. Here is what the acronym FEAR stands for. F-E-A-R stands for F, fusion with unhelpful thoughts. E, expectations that are unrealistic. A, avoidance of uncomfortable feelings. And R, remoteness from your values. That stands for F-E-A-R. So let's briefly discuss each one of these. F, the first one is fusion. As soon as you start setting goals or planning a new activity, radio disaster will start broadcasting in your head. And it says, I can't do this. It's too hard. I'm wasting my time. There's no point in trying. You've tried this before. It just doesn't work. It won't work for me. Many of these old programs often play unconsciously, and we may not even be aware of them running and how they impact our feeling and our thinking and our actions. These negative thoughts are fused with our consciousness and they limit us severely. The solution is to use diffusion skills. See these thoughts for what they are, just words, and let them come and go and return your focus to taking effective action. So we are fused with these unhelpful thoughts. We need to diffuse them. One diffusion technique to identify unhelpful thoughts is to reduce their grip on you is to write them down. Write them down in a journal or wherever you're comfortable. The moment you write these unhelpful thoughts down, you are starting the process of diffusion. They become separate from you. And that is what I mean by diffusion. You are now the observer and can evaluate if this thought is helpful or unhelpful in helping you move towards what you want. And as you see them written down, you can assess how much truth is there really in this thought. I mean, is it 100% true 100% of the time? Most often, things are never so bleak. It's just when we fuse with our thoughts, they color our reality. And the good news is, once we start the process of diffusing from these thoughts, we reduce the negative impact they have on us and we can move ahead without that excess baggage of negativity that these thoughts create. I remember last year as I took up scuba diving, my mind was overwhelmed with negative thoughts that caused so much fear and anxiety and resistance for me, essentially because I'm afraid of the water. And it took away the joy of learning a new skill. Learning how to defuse from these thoughts helped me get back in the water. So avoid fusion with these unhelpful thoughts. Avoid fusion with these unhelpful thoughts. Let's move to the second block, which is E. E stands for expectations that are unreal. And I love this because I'm really always falling into this. What this means is if your goals are too ambitious or there may be too many of them, you will feel overwhelmed and will probably give up or at least put it off for another day. Another aspect of this same obstacle, remember we are talking about these 4 mental obstacles. So another aspect of these expectations that are unreal is having unrealistic expectations of very high performance standards that must be attained upfront. This can hold us back from learning new skills or taking up new challenges because we are so uncomfortable with the uncertainty that comes with this learning curve. Now, growth means uncertainty and going through a learning curve. And during this learning curve, when we are low on knowledge and expertise, we will feel frustrated and disheartened. But commitment means that when we stumble or get off track, we pick ourselves up, find our bearings, and carry on in the direction set by our values. And as I say this, I've been thinking about my own unrealistic and overwhelming expectations that I've set for myself as I've started this podcasting journeys. And it is these high expectations which often make me feel very disheartened or frustrated as I grapple with mastering the technology and the process. So what helps me? Well, it will help you too. Here's the tip. Ask yourself, what's the smallest, easiest step I could do that would bring me a little closer to achieving this goal? And the secret is, it has to be the smallest, easiest step that you can do now that will move you a little closer to the goal. And once you identify what this easy, smallest, most convenient step is, well, just do it. Another 2 examples of unrealistic expectations is having too short a time frame to get the desired results. Have you ever thought of losing 5 kilos and you want it all gone in the next 2 weeks? That's what I mean. Another example is the need to be perfect, to make no mistakes. So the solution for any unrealistic expectation is simple. Make it more realistic. Focus on version 1, not the perfect version. You know that based on version 1, you can move to version 2. So this gives you the freedom to move ahead without getting paralyzed by perfectionism or expectations and time frames that are too ambitious. So the F was fusion, E was expectations that are unrealistic, and A is avoidance. So when I say avoidance, I mean avoidance of uncomfortable feelings. The more you try to avoid uncomfortable or unpleasant feelings, the harder it will be to make important changes. Change usually gives rise to uncomfortable feelings. And we treat these uncomfortable feelings or emotions as the enemy, as something bad. Well, they are not. They are just emotions that are part of the full range of human experience. So there is nothing wrong with being worried or anxious or nervous or afraid and so on. How do you deal with them? Well, you practice your diffusion skills by making room for your discomfort. How do you do that? Well, just notice it. Just observe it. Breathe deeply. Let go this expectation to change it or that it's bad or to judge it. Just notice it. Notice that you're feeling anxious. Notice that you're feeling anxiety or you're feeling uncomfortable or you're feeling afraid. Just notice it. The fact that you're noticing and you're breathing helps you diffuse from the grip that this uncomfortable feeling will have on you. Be accepting of the fact that uncomfortable emotions are part of the process. They are indicators that you're breaking out of your comfort zone. It's a good sign. Therefore, on any journey that is taking us forward, that is helping us break out of our comfort zone, Anxiety, uncertainty, fear, self-doubt are our co-passengers. But though we travel with them, they are not in the driver's seat. You are. They don't set the direction, nor do they control the start and stop. Making mistakes is part of the learning process and being human. We can never predict success with any guarantee. So uncomfortable feelings are part of the journey. Be accepting of them, be welcoming of them. Don't try to get rid of them, travel with them. But keep your eyes on the front window, let them be on the back seat. So till now, we've covered F for fusion, E, expectations that are unrealistic, and A, avoidance of uncomfortable feelings. And finally, we come to R, the last mindset, the last mental block, and R is remoteness from our values. Remoteness from our values. It's important for each one of us to clarify our values and then to connect with them. And if you're not sure about your values and how one connects, I encourage you to do a values exercise, identify your values, work with a coach if you need help in identifying your values. So when your goals are aligned with your values, you have the motivation and the inspiration and the meaning to move you forward. And if your goals are not aligned with your deepest values, the goals will seem pointless and meaningless and insignificant. So it's important to connect with your values and then align the goals to your values. Once you have a clear picture of what your values are, then obviously it's easier to align your actions, goals, and projects, whatever you want to do, to your values. And once this alignment happens, all the obstacles become so much easier to handle. So let's bring our conversation to a close. Today, we've discussed 4 obstacles in our mind or the way we think, and it's these obstacles which can limit us or hold us back, or even if we are struggling to move ahead, it can rob us from the joy of the present moment. The acronym for these 4 obstacles is FEAR, which stands for fusion with unhelpful thoughts, expectations that are unrealistic, avoidance of uncomfortable feelings, and remoteness from your values. I've discussed some suggestions that will help you start dealing with these 4 obstacles in a more effective way. Before I end, I have one caveat. If for some reason you feel that you're not able to support yourself because of what you're currently going through emotionally, and you know these tips but you're just not able to snap out, then I encourage you to consider working with a life coach or counselor for a few sessions. This will certainly be very, very helpful for you. Well, thank you for listening and talk to you soon.
And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Please connect with us on coachtoolbox@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and review this channel. Details of our ICF-approved coach training programs and our services as executive coaches and coaching supervisors are on www.globalcoachtrust.org. See you in our next session.